Oh, you're
Hey everyone,
going?
welcome to the Heroes World Quarantine podcast. We're waiting for Rob to go through the portal, but we're gonna hear Andre's thoughts, a little mini review on the Resident Evil film that was on Netflix. Andre, you spoke a little bit about understanding why it is It's a movie, but it's cut into 4 episodes. What the heck's going on?
Yeah, so the Netflix just dropped, I think maybe on Friday, the new Resident Evil. I think it's called Infinite Darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the Resident Evil CGI animated series, and they call it season 1, and maybe there will be a season 2 or whatever.
Maybe it's
But it's
three
only
movies,
4.
a
Hmm?
trilogy of 3 movies. They're just cutting
Okay,
into
3. So
episodes.
yeah, so it'll be
Yeah.
3 movies, but it's really just a like a 4 parts. It's just a movie, so they
Mm.
probably should have just released it as that, just like all the other Resident Evil movies.
Mm-hmm.
So up front, I'm a huge Resident Evil fan, but I'm gonna stick a big caveat with that. Uh, Resident Evil 1 through uh, everything up to 1, 2, and 3, including
Mm-hmm.
like Codename Veronica and stuff. Really dug it right into it for all the video games and stuff. Number 4, which a lot of people think is the best of the games, the story part really changed and it fell off for me. 5 and 6 come out and I'm okay with it, not great.
Mm-hmm.
Just recently played 7, not a fan, so I skipped 8. Like that's just not where I want Resident Evil to be. But I appreciate how Resident Evil has changed. Therefore, love, love, love all of the Mila Jovovich Resident Evil movies. And yes, they are totally not like the video game and stuff like that. So you might hear me being super hard on the Marvel stuff and whatever for not being close. But for some reason, I can disassociate these. But in comes these 3D CGI movies
Mm.
that I super dig. You're getting the same characters. You're seeing Chris, you're seeing Claire, you're seeing
Yeah.
Leon, and it is almost like you're seeing where in the world after Umbrella Falls these bioweapons are being made. And they're usually, just action set piece fests, but they usually are always pushing CG to the new level. And that's where I would like to talk about this one. The CGI is phenomenal in this. The faces look fantastic. We get Leon and we get Claire from the Resident Evil series. They're both doing slightly different things. And there's a new bio weapon that's being released. There's a little bit of a kind of I don't want to say a conspiracy, but there's the things that are working on the underground and stuff. So on that front, if you liked Resident Evil in any of the forms that I mentioned, I highly recommend it. If you want something to just kind of sit down and watch, and you like animated stuff or CG stuff, definitely check it out.
Mm.
But if you are looking for it to follow any of the video games or whatever, I think you would be a little bit disappointed. A couple of my nitpicks: the dialogue was bad, and the plot has a very huge, glaring not plot hole, but it's
But
basically the
isn't that
character's motivation. It just doesn't make any
But isn't that
sense.
indicative of Capcom games? No offense, because typically it's Japanese convert to English. So
Yeah,
already there's
but
kind
it
of a weird translation thing. But also, if you look at whether Solid Snake, most Capcom games is like a really crazy storyline, and then they kind
well,
of
no, but this
patch it
this
through.
storyline isn't crazy. It's
Yeah,
just that you kind of see what they're gonna
yeah,
be going
yeah,
for, but then the characters, when you hear what they're doing, you're like, well, why did you just do that right
yeah,
before? It's literally not the antithesis of what they're
yeah,
doing, but they became what they were fighting against
yeah.
or whatever. But anyways, I still think it was entertaining. If they do release it on Blu-ray, I'm gonna add it to my collection of all things Resident Evil in the video realm, because I literally own all the CG movies and all the other movies.
Flash news,
Um,
Andre. It probably won't, but
I
we're gonna
know Netflix
because
is
it's on
so bad
Netflix.
that
Yeah,
way.
well,
Um,
Netflix you can't buy stuff.
well,
It's
it's really
just like
funny
Disney
because
Plus. They're not going to release any of the shows
I think
on
they will.
Blu-ray.
I think at a certain point they
You
will.
got
I hope so, because I want to own Falcon and Winter Soldier
they
on
want you to be
Blu-ray.
on
So
Disney Plus. That's
yeah.
the
What
thing.
about Black Widow? You think Black Widow's gonna come out on Blu-ray?
Yeah,
Yes
it will
or
because it's a
no?
movie.
Yeah.
It's a movie.
But the TV shows won't.
But the
I
TV
don't
shows,
think the
yeah,
TV show. No,
they need
No,
those
Kevin
subs.
Feige has said that they have no plans to do it.
no, because
Yeah, but
the
Kevin
whole thing is
Feige
to
isn't the
drive
guy.
you.
Like, he's not Disney. Maybe Disney says we need money or whatever. Them theme
Shareholders
parks ain't
want
gonna
you to
write themselves. So
Andre, to produce a Blu-ray and stuff and to make it. They're not making as much as you guaranteed to spend $59 a year on their service. It's like they'd rather you spend the money.
59, you silly bastard. It's
American.
120.
Yeah, but, 59 American, 120 Canadian.
Yeah,
so,
right.
You know, Rob, come on, it's inflation.
Conversion is whack as shit.
Okay, welcome again. So thank you, Andre, for that delightful small interlude while we're waiting for Rob.
Sorry, guys.
I am your host, Stupe. With me, as always, is both Andre and John, the Heroes World owners and proprietors. Whoop. Say hello.
What's up, folks?
Hello.
And of course, the guy, variant 19998, Mr. Rob Goudet. Say hello.
Hey, everybody. Nothing's better than a Sunday morning when your computer won't start and then Zoom keeps crashing. So
Good times.
There is nothing better than that.
Yeah, you just have to add more batteries. Have you thought about walking to with your variant to recharge?
you know what
your-
I did is I remembered a science experiment in grade 4 where you hooked up a bunch of potatoes and copper pennies. So I'm currently running on that process right now. So if things are going a little bananas.
Wait. What about the hamster in the wheel? Did you give him a break? Because you were using that before.
We don't talk about him anymore.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was just he has his both kids on treadmills in the other room and they're walking, and that's what he's.
Oh, the kids of today don't have any motivation to do anything like that. Now, if I could hook it up to their game controllers, we'd be rocking in HK.
Oh boy!
4K
All right,
here.
4K. All right, cool. So, Rob, since you're late, we want you
Yep.
to give us the unhelpful summary, without any positive adjectives or negative adjectives, of today's episode, or episode 5, which was titled.
Yes. So this is Journey into Mystery, which, I mean, anybody who has even a modicum of comic knowledge knows that this is a pretty significant title. But where we left off with episode 4 at the end is that Loki wakes up after being pruned by Renslayer and is in what we'll call a void right now, surrounded by other Lokis from different times. And of course, we talked about last episode seeing Richard E. Grant in classic, Kirby Loki costume. So this episode takes place entirely in this void as they are trying to figure out a way. Loki of present time is trying to figure out a way out of this void. Back at the TVA, you have Sylvie is trying to understand what happened to Renslayer and wants to bring the TVA down. Sorry, what happened to Loki, wants to bring the TVA down. Renslayer obviously wants to stop. And Loki and Sylvie do eventually team up and figure a way to bypass the idea of time in and of itself, to pull the curtain back and find out who is the man in the desk.
Awesome. Thank you, Rob. So, John, we'll start with you. Give us things you liked, things you hated, shout outs for acting performances. No spoilers. Go.
No spoilers. Okay. Well, what did I like in here? Performance-wise, I liked the guy Richard E. Grant playing the classic Loki.
Mhm.
I thought he was pretty cool. No spoilers. I feel
We'll
like
get
that's
to
all
it
I
in
can
a
say.
second. That's it. Did you like anything in this episode?
Yeah, but it's all spoilery.
Okay. All right. All right. Okay. Well, that's fine. Rob, give us your thoughts. Likes, dislikes.
Yeah, I kind of agree with some of the things, the Easter egg stuff I really liked. I can't really get into. Okay, so this is not really a spoiler issue. This is something that I've noticed, and I'm not sure if anybody else has. The color purple is like, for whatever reason, plays a
great
significant role. What's
Yes,
that?
it is a great
great
movie.
The color
movie.
purple, yes, yeah. Steven Spielberg. But the color purple plays a significant role throughout, and the actual color throughout this entire process series. And I'm not sure if that's purposefully done or not. But in every there's color, purple is like the color, the hue, the way that they reset time. Everything's purple.
It's purple behind you right now. That's awesome.
I know, yeah. so
Episode
I want
notes. Lot of purple. Episode 2-minute mark. All right, just in case that pops up again.
No, but seriously, if you look at everything, it's an overabundance of almost. It's like it's more than just a coincidence. Put it that way, right? So. In each episode. So I liked, for me, there's something there. Maybe there's not. I don't know. I liked the interaction of, I like the interaction of Loki with the rest of the other Lokis, and there are some that we'll probably get into more in the spoiler areas. So I really like that interaction. I thought that Tom Hiddleston does play a couple different roles in this, so it was kind of cool. It was a little bit of a shout out to a throwback to Eddie Murphy in the Nutty Professor movies and doing stuff, or even Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future Part 2. I liked the progression of the story of where it was going. Again, there's a bit more questions than answers, but I suspect that we're actually getting towards understanding a lot of what happens. This episode really highlights for me the unnecessary episode 3. Or they were on that train.
No, it was necessary, but yeah, we'll carry on.
But yeah. I don't really think it. I think this was a very good episode as far as I'm concerned, and I'm very excited to see where it ends off, where it ends. So overall, I enjoyed it, but there's probably more stuff we can talk about in the spoiler territory.
Andre, thoughts?
Yeah. So what I liked, Alligator Loki. Performance, Alligator Loki.
Great, thrilling.
Thrilling.
Dislike. Not enough Alligator Loki.
Perfect.
And we'll go wait for the spoilers. Yeah.
Awesome. John, how do you rate this out of 10?
I'd give this one like 8. No, I'm 7. Sorry, 7.
Ooh, down. Rob.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 8.
Andre.
I think this one was almost as good as the first one. So and in some ways maybe a little bit better. So I'd probably go like a 7. Yeah, probably.
Wow. All right. We're going to get the
It's a meteoric rise from last week. So
yeah, that's
huge rise.
It definitely was over the last 2 because like, again, stuff happens and you can kind of see they're paving a way, right? So
yeah, we're going to get our auditors at the CJWP to review your scores. So keep it in mind. Okay, so we're going full spoilers. So those who thank you for tolerating that goofiness, but we're going full spoilers right now. So if you have, everyone's seen it. So we're going full in. So John, give us now, because you were muzzled, give us your full things that you liked and didn't like.
I didn't want to for some reason someone didn't see it, but the return of Mobius, definitely a key component. So like I basically have like 3 kind of things I really liked, but was the whole Loki Mobius combination coming back, and they get that cool little moment at the end where they're kind of parting ways, and he reaches out for the handshake, and Loki kind of just looks at it, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? I kind of want like a hug," and then they like hug each other,
a bro hug. Yeah.
So yeah. So I'm looking forward to that. I wonder if they are going to split apart, but I guess we're going to talk about predictions later. The other thing I liked was Loki's new costume, which is hilarious. He's like, cosplayers everywhere rejoice if you have long dark hair and shirt and tie. All you got to do is add a golden sword to your back, and now you've got Loki cosplay. But I actually quite when they just kind of pan off and you kind of see the sword sticking out of his back, and he's just in his suit. I thought it looked great. And then the last thing I really liked, and I previously wrote this character off that he looked too silly, which is the Richard E. Grant classic Loki. His sacrifice at the end, and he generates a whole city. I was like, okay, because previously Loki definitely not one of my favorite characters, especially a classic Loki. I could probably care even less about, but I thought that was a cool moment, and it made me actually want to kind of go back and kind of look at some of the things that classic Loki has done. So I don't really know a lot about him because I was on the Team X-Men, so I definitely want to see that. Although I did want them to explain why he's wearing that particular costume, but I don't know.
It's just the OG one. That's it. But yeah, to your point, before we jump over to Rob, his monologue in the bowling alley when he points out, it's like, even the Mad Titan didn't, like, I was just like, oh, this is what happens when you get a really good actor, even with the most ridiculous dialogue, like they can really eat it up. And everything he was doing, shout outs to Richard Grant, he makes everything better. And we talked about before, just about owning it, even when he's wearing the ridiculous costume. You're like, this is
the costume is so out of place. I thought they were gonna try and throw something in.
Like he's like, yeah, this is who I am. Deal with it. So it's just like, it's so spot on. The maniacal laugh, like even the laugh that he has when boastful Thor is like, oh, you're gonna do this, and he turns around, tilts his head and laughs maniacally. You're like, this is what, when I imagine classic Loki, I want classic Loki to be. So there is something about that. And And even at the end when he says glorious purpose, and you're just like, oh, so good.
Because he was totally on a green screen. There was nothing there. So he that's all him. So I thought that was cool.
Yeah. So you guys can hear me, right? Yeah. So I don't know if I mentioned this, but everything's purple. That plays an important fact.
GTFO. How many appearances of purple did you write down?
There's a lot. I'm gonna throw some things that I quite enjoyed of this. All right. First of all, President Loki. I love seeing, like, President Loki was hilarious. Tom Hiddleston was killing it as President Loki. I mean, obviously he had some of the similar hair, but you could tell it was just styled differently. He looked very much right from the comic book, that cover. I don't remember what issue that is. Andre would know. I love seeing Frog Thor in the jar as you're scanning down, and you also see Mjolnir stuck into the ground as well, and Frog Thor is trying to get out. That was pretty cool. The Thanos copter, I thought that was hilarious and really funny, right? As they're driving. I mean, there was all these like weird little Easter eggs that you would see, right? From just like different.
We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah.
But apparently they, Rob, just a fun fact, Kate Herron said that that is Chris Helmsworth's voice as Throng, like the Frog Thor. They called him.
Oh, really?
He recorded new dialogue for that. So that's
hilarious.
Helmsworth as Frog Thor. So they like call him up. They're like, "You mind doing it?" And he's like, "Yeah, whatever." He's like grunting in the background and trying to catch it.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
I liked the as everybody knows who watches this podcast, I'm a big fan of Lost. So as soon as I see a smoke monster,
where's Mr. Echo?
I'm all for it. I mean, they gave it the name of Alioth, which is fine, but I was just like, watching the way that smoke monster was traveling into the void, trying to capture the variants who were stuck there. I was like, oh, come on now. You called up J.J. Abrams' Bad Robot and said, hey, listen, how can we get the mechanics and how you guys did the smoke monster? Because it was I was waiting for the Man in Black to appear. So I thought it was really funny that, when they're in, first of all, big shout out to, we talked about Richard Grant, but even Kid Loki, he held his own against the rest of those actors in that. So I was like, very, very happy to see he didn't just play like a sniveling little kid. Like he was holding his own with Tom Hiddleston and Richard E. Grant, which is great. I thought it was really funny though when they're in the lair. He's sitting on. I've seen that comic splash page where he's sitting. He's got his leg over, like most kids do, or even sometimes I do, over the arm of the chair. And all the Lokis are fighting each other to gain control, and then they start to betray each other. Like, to me, that was just hilarious.
That was
right?
funny.
Like,
that was a good
you
moment.
Can't trust one of these guys. As John mentioned, watching Richard E. Grant, like the power set. We talked about the power set of Loki in earlier episodes. Like when he stopped that in the end of episode 2, the tower from falling, we didn't understand. But seeing this Loki conjure up this entire fake Asgard and using all of his might to essentially create it, I thought that was just amazing. And overall, I mean, like, I'm excited I think everybody's expecting Kang the Conqueror to be the guy pulling the strings at the end of this void. I don't know if that's necessarily the truth. I think we've all been bamboozled and by thoughts of Mephisto showing up in WandaVision. So I'm no longer like hoping or praying or whatever that you're going to have some mysterious bad guy at the end pulling the strings. If it is, cool. It would probably explain the purple a little bit. But I'm very excited to see where this goes. I like the idea that this area lies beyond time, right? That this is something where even the time masters or whatever can't even really access it. This is way near the end of time. So I thought that was really kind of cool. And the last thing I want to say is B-15. I think there's something up with her. I mean, right now I know she's in stasis or in the field or whatever, in prison. But I think there's more to her than what than just being stuck in. So I'm very excited to see where this all goes. At the end of the day, I quite enjoyed this. This is like a slingshot. I mean, Andre's score beforehand, it speaks to that. This is a slingshot backup. So I'm very excited to see where the 6th episode goes.
Okay, Andre, it is your time. Your thoughts?
So I think you guys covered most of it. I did really like the Loki battle. I really liked which is the Loki that had the hammer? What did they call him? The golden hammer.
Boastful Loki.
Boastful Loki. Yeah, like I like that he betrayed them, and then all the other Lokis kind of betrayed themselves. Like I thought that was a very crucial moment, and stuff. But it leads me to think, like, unfortunately, like I like the old Loki or classic Loki things. However, I don't think where Loki is, they haven't made me believe that Loki's changed his stripes. Like the thing about Loki is he's all for himself. He's never going to change. Like period, end, stop. Like he will always court power, and he always wants to be in charge. So I remember I said in the last podcast, I really like this whole notion that Loki and Sylvie love each other, because it's the ultimate expression of narcissism. Like he's not going to love anybody but himself, and this is a female version of himself, right? So I think that his sacrifice by conjuring Asgard was fantastic, and they did mention how powerful magic is to him and stuff. And I guess maybe for his Loki, he did say he got lonely, and he yearned for his brother and stuff. But I guess it's dependent on how long have those guys been stuck at the end of time, right? So we don't really know. So I guess we can speculate on that. I did like the awkwardness between Sylvie and Loki, and the little cheesy thing with the blanket. I thought that was kind of cute. But I think I'm a little bit on the opposite side with the whole Mobius coming back in the little pizza car and stuff like that. It's like there was enough going on that added humor. This was just almost like even more humor. But again, I really like the alligator Loki, so that's just stupid humor too. Like he just kept like the argument where he jumps out of the
that guy's
pool
hand
and stuff like that. Yeah, I thought yeah, that was cool. Overall, I think my biggest issue with it. Can I talk about what I didn't like, Stu, or we're gonna?
Yeah. This is time. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So what I didn't like, and this is just going off on the thought thing. I don't really think that they thought through the whole idea of what pruning is and explained what pruning is very well, because at one point they say that all the TVA agents are variants that they've kind of programmed to be agents. So in a way, if I'm a variant and they take me in, obviously to me I would think they'd want to prune the variant to become an agent, much like how Tom Hiddleston's Loki, they're like, oh yeah, maybe we can train this guy and get him to be an agent. But if they're zapping these people to the end of time to be eaten by a giant smoke monster, or dropping them at the end of time with no hopes of survival, I think that's crueler than putting a bullet in the back of their heads.
Mm-hmm.
And I really think that that concept or idea just speaks volumes. Like it's actually worse. Like, do you know what I mean? So I didn't like that, unless that's what they're going for. Like, we are into the TVA so bad that we're into torture and all that. And you think that
but the agents don't know.
Mm-hmm.
The agents don't know. None of them.
Yeah,
no
well,
one.
Renslayer knows.
But she's supposed to be the bad guy, right? So it's like, then it just speaks how bad the bad guys are, because they know what it is. But everyone else is like, oh, no one knows that it's going to Elias, and that's the situation.
So they think, but if they know pruning is killing people, and they think they're killing them, and they're okay with it, but then are they going to be okay with, oh no, I'm sending everybody to this end of time thing? And I also, to be honest with you, without more explanation, I don't like the whole this thing is outside of time or at the end of time thing. Like, I know it's not a comic, but I think the best iteration for me for the end of time is in DC Comics, where they talk about the source wall and everything stops there, and if you want to get rid of something, you put it in that wall and its powers are gone and it's stuck, and that's a way to kind of, shall we say, shackle what you don't want, because it's actually explained. maybe in this next episode they'll explain a little bit of it. I doubt it, because at the end of the day, I don't
It's
think
like two rafts, Andre.
Can we record this part? Because
I think it's not consequential to the plot.
Timestamp this, because when we see the source wall in the DC movie, and Andre's like, "This is stupid," the way they butchered it. I want us to remember
for sure.
this
In a DC
because you're not going to be happy when they do it. It
But-
seems good in theory, but wait till they do it in a movie, and you're
Right,
like,
but I
"Hey."
did preface it with the caveat of the comic. I just think that this show, I think a lot of the stuff that they're working on, they're not working with the assumption that the plot needs to be tight. They're working on the assumption that we need to get characters from point A to point B to point C, and we hope that we have made these characters interesting enough that the audience forgets or doesn't worry about that background stuff. Unfortunately, I fall into the category of I'm looking at the whole picture, but I think most people are going to be like, oh, I love Tom Hiddleston, I love Mobius, I love Agent 13, I love Sylvie. So the stuff that's in the background doesn't matter, and that's okay, because
But I think, Andre,
that's
to your
what
point,
they're trying to do.
I think to your point, Andre, when you're making this type of show, you want the ability to pivot very quickly. So they leave things where you could go two directions, because from the big Marvel studios, because everything's now interconnected, they're going to say, well, you have access to this character, you have access to that character. Maybe we can bring this guest actor in. Everything's kind of open. And I would, if I was a producer, I'd want that. I don't want to be so like, this is hell or high water, because if someone can't make it, or Kevin Feige can't do it anymore, then you're really screwed. And then you end up like the Flash on CW, where we're stuck with Godspeed again. You're like, well, we have to have another speed bad guy, so we're only limited to 4 speed Salvatore, and the same thing's over. So it can go either way. You want the ability to pivot and move accordingly and be flexible, because COVID stopped a lot of things, because they talked about how actors were supposed to show up in certain shows, but because of quarantine and other things didn't happen. So this is what happens when you do live action, and why you and I love cartoons is because you can just voice act and you can get anyone you want when you want it. It doesn't matter. But when it's a real person and they have to fly somewhere to do something, that's when you're stuck. So what you see, I guess, as a little more like, why are they that this way? It's, I think, as if you and I were planning an event and we're reliant on like Mike to show up, we would probably have standby people just in case if you couldn't show up, and that's what probably the Marvel shows are doing, right? So I agree. It's probably not the best storytelling, but you could be screwed very easily because of a global pandemic, or someone is sick, or someone hurts themselves, or can't get out of a contract, or they won't let them leave the country. So, yeah. But yes, I think to your point, there are some interesting things they're going to do with the show. We know that there's season 2 coming, so I have a feeling they're not going to address anything. They're just going to leave it very... Episode's going to finish, and then it's dum, and that's going to lead into Spider-Man and all the other stuff, and then we'll get more Owen Wilson and Loki in season 2 and more shenanigans, because...
if they do a Smallville style cliffhanger,
at the very beginning. There's no way they can fix everything and solve everything. It's just impossible. But at least we know this one is not a one and done, a la, Falcon, Winter Soldier, and WandaVision. We know there's a season 2, so they have a little more.
That'll piss me off, though.
That will runway.
That will piss me off in so much as that if you're going to make a season 2 for this story, I don't think you can. I don't think you should. Continue, leave this season on a cliffhanger, like many TV shows that we watch season to season. You leave it on a cliffhanger because this should be a contained story. If you want the time variant association to still be a play and Loki be jumping through time, make it another story, and he has to be Mobius recruits him for something else later on in the timeline. I don't like the fact that this is like, I would not like this to be a cliffhanger, because we don't know when
scene where Loki's sitting at a table and then Owen Wilson shows up and like sits on the table, shows like a portfolio, is like, look, if it's not about Dominic Toretto, I don't want to do anything else. And it's like, you're interested in this, and throws
maybe there's a way to save your mom, like whatever the case may be. I'd like this story to have a completion to it, because I know that we keep saying that there's a season 2. I don't think it's there's nothing really well known about this season 2. We don't know when it's coming out. Like, this could be 3 years from now, and that's not generally. It's okay to leave a movie on a cliffhanger. I mean, Empire Strikes Back, but because you knew, but it doesn't seem to be a widely known confirmation of a season 2, right? So I'm just saying, I'd really hate for that to be, because that would just really piss me off, to be honest with you, right?
Well,
Like that.
I'm glad they're not worried about just you, because that's what's gonna happen, buddy. So get ready. I'm gonna jump to some quick questions.
What's the cliffhanger in Empire though? Is it Han Solo frozen in carbonite? Is that it?
Well, that's one aspect.
Yeah.
John,
Okay.
the bit is not funny. We're gonna carry on. Unless you're actually serious. Are you serious?
I'm serious. Like, what's the cliffhanger? I don't remember a cliffhanger when I was watching it as a kid.
I knew when you said that the bit's not funny, I was like, this is not a bit. He's actually being legit serious.
No, John.
I assume Han Solo was dead. And then okay, anyways, well, I want to rewatch Empire.
Okay. Quickly to Andre's point.
Welcome to the Heroes World Sidekick Show.
We're watching Empire Strikes Back.
We're gonna watch Empire Strikes Back. Yeah, we're gonna do an Empire Strikes Back episode. Thank you, John. That's a good segue. Andre, to your point, you're right in terms of the Loki that we know is a selfish one. But remember, every single one of these are variants. They're not the one that we knew in the Marvel MCU is dead. So this one is not that one. Classic Loki isn't that one. Kid Loki isn't that one. And they're all variants. So the fact that OG Loki is still dead, and as far as we know, ain't coming back. Every single one of these is a variant.
I don't know if you can like see that's the problem when they don't explain this thing. The Tom Hiddleston is the OG Loki, right? Because he got taken out and gets put back at that point. So the Tom Hiddleston is the MCU Loki. The only difference is he's seen his future, and I guess overseeing his future,
Well, that's a
changed.
branch that jumped
here's
out.
The thing. At a certain point, there's got to be something that makes these characters all Lokis. And without the show explaining what makes them Lokis, we can only assume our perception of Loki, and that's God of Mischief,
Survival.
out for himself, and Frost Giant, orphan, right? So you pick one of those threads, right? Like none of the Lokis.
Well, no, they've talked about it. Andre,
Loki.
they've talked about it. Lokis are survivors. That's the theme of this, and that episode was like, we're survivors. We're the god of, like, what's they call the guys god of not mischief. When classic Loki was like, we're the god.
Yeah, but I think that's him, basically saying, yeah, no, they got it wrong. This is what we are. But in order to get there, like, all of them have that element of backstabbing and betrayal and stuff like that. None of them that we've seen, and sure, there could be millions more. Yeah, there could be a noble Loki, but at a certain point, then would that be a Loki? You know what I mean? Like, if you had a character.
Okay, we got to
anyways,
keep on going. I get it. I just think that the trait they're portraying right now is Lokis are survivors. Thus, that's why there's so many in that.
But if you say he's a survivor, that justifies him doing whatever. The ends justify the means, so it's the same thing.
It's a thing. So okay, we're gonna keep on going because there's a lot of stuff we got to cover. Unanswered questions. We kind of talked a little bit about that. Any weird fan theories that you got before the final episode, John? You got any weird predictions?
No.
Bob?
Predictions. As much as I say I don't want this to happen, I think
you're gonna Mephisto again, aren't you?
No. I think Kang will. I think there's been too many Easter eggs to insinuate that Kang is not involved in this, and I don't suspect he'll be like in the last half of the whole half hour. Let's just say if it was an hour episode, I think it will be near towards the end, because I believe he's supposed to be in. Is it Doctor Strange?
He's for sure in Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Okay, so yeah, Quantumania. So
Quantumania.
Maybe so I suspect that you will see kind of like how we saw the original Thanos towards the end, like there was some type of a
in the shadows, or his hand or something like that.
Yeah, well, the original Thanos, he turned around and he had there was the makeup, right? The guy. So I think we'll see Kang. It will be one of those like, oh, here's our big bad coming up for Phase 4. So
because that release is February 17th, 2023. If you're wondering when that movie's coming out. So if it is, I know we're laughing, but that's like going to be tomorrow, John. Like, we laughed before, we're like, oh yeah, it's like, time moves quick. So
well, if you think it's only a year and a half away.
Mm-hmm. So when that it depends on when the next Loki show. They're like, oh, when is coming out? Because if it's a build up to it, they may just do, like to your point, a Thanos reveal where he just turns his head and you're like, oh, there's Kang, or just his hand, like Dr. Claw, just there. Okay. Andre, do you have any fan theories?
I think that once they what did she call it? She's gonna mind control the smoke monster.
She did. Eliath, yes.
Oh yeah. I think that what's gonna happen is once
they
enchant it, once she turns that thing off or whatever, I got a feeling it's gonna bring back everybody that was eaten by it. It's just gonna be like this whole reset thing, and everything
variant
comes
world
back out. Yeah.
Wow. Maybe, I don't know, man. They've been digested, but maybe they'll come out a little bit weirder.
Well, no, but again, it's a smoke monster. They're probably just going through some other type of wormhole thing. Because, like I said, it's really cruel.
Yeah.
For them to do that, and I don't think this show wants to, or the Marvel stuff has done something that's so overtly evil, and stuff. I think they shy away from people being evil for evil's sake in the MCU, which is I think one of its shortcomings. But that's all good.
Yep. Just to Rob's point, let's just point out a few Easter eggs of you. How many did you guys spot into the dark universe? Can you guys name any of them? Let's play a quick one right here. How many can you guys name off the top of your head of random Easter eggs that you saw? I think we already marked the Thanos helicopter. Anyone else spot anything else?
Yellow Jacket's helmet. From Ant-Man, you saw there, and then
anyone else?
The Thor frog, Rob already mentioned.
Thor frog, the hammer. There was something. Well, we got the President Loki thing. It was from the.
No, I'm talking about buildings and stuff.
Anyone buildings.
Rob, do you got anything, or do you want me to go through the list?
Yeah, no, but there was that one building, but the Stark building, it was called something else.
Kang. It's Kang.
Kang.
It's Q E N.
Yeah, that's right. Q. Yeah, okay, so there you go. So, and that apparently is the headquarters of Kang the Conqueror, I guess, in one of his
comics. Yeah, he bought Stark Tower, and it's Kang in the future. Anyone else got anything that they noticed, or before I go through the list?
No.
Okay. I used to.
So there was the Red Skull's helicopter. They were walking by, so you saw from Captain America 1, the weird gyrocopter thing was there. There was the Avengers Tower with Kang written on it. The Sanctum Sanctorum was there as well. So one of them was from New York. The Dark Astor from Captain.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. Guardians.
The Philadelphia Experiment. That was the big ship. The ship that apparently turned invisible, and there are a lot of conspiracies happening.
Yeah.
There's Throng, of course. There's Thanos helicopter. Yellow Jacket helmet. Apparently people were saying the ship of Theseus, the ship of that ship was there, and they're like, maybe that's a ship of Theseus ? Shield helicarrier with Hydra logo on it. So there's a Shield helicarrier from Winter Soldier, but there's a giant Hydra logo on it. So that was a thing. Of course, you saw the Sphinx and Pyramid, whether that's Kang the Conqueror or not. That's ? Library of Alexandria. Both the Golden Gate and both bridges from San Francisco have been kind of melded together for that. So they really threw kind of the kitchen sink into that dark kind of weird universe of stuff. So that is for those who kind of eagle eye spotted and saw things there.
Shout outs to those VFX artists that had to put those together.
Yeah, I'm sure it was a lot of fun to like do the goofiness of it, because they're like, why not? It seems super fun. But, we already know that Yellow Jacket apparently is coming back for the third movie. So that was just like an introduction to say, hey, this is Yellow Jacket's coming back in some capacity, because to your point, he probably didn't die. They just shift him into somewhere else in the timescape. So there we go. Okay, so as we roll things out at the end, and talking about sticking the landing and whatnot, was this the best episode of Loki so far, John? Or do you think that the first episode?
No. I still like the first episode. I watched multiple times. None of the other episodes I've kind of gone back and rewatched. So definitely not for me.
Rob?
Yeah, I think this is right. Probably just a tick short of episode 1. But 1 in 5 seem to be are definitely the best so far.
Andre?
Yeah, I would agree with what John and Rob said. Yeah. Not the best, but better than any of the other ones for sure.
Yeah, I was talking to Andre before the stream started. About alligator or crocodile Loki. I made the joke that he's kind of like Groot, where he's growling, but it's a full dialogue tree that's happening in the background. He's
Yeah.
like talking about glorious purpose, and I'm here to destroy everyone, but no one can understand him. Although classic Loki could. Classic Loki is the one that can understand, because when he's growling, classic Loki's having a full dialogue tree with him. Everyone else is kind of like whatever.
I'd watch that spinoff, Classic Loki and the Gator.
Yep.
Well, we're gonna get our wish.
Be like Turner and Hooch.
It's gonna be, Kid Loki and the alligator, because if he's part of the Young Avengers, because they're lining it up anyways. Because every Young Avengers shown up already. We had Patriot in Falcon Winter Soldier. We had the twins in WandaVision. We're gonna have Kate Bishop and Hawkeye. We already have Cassie Lang from that event, Ant-Man. And Kid Loki. We're just waiting for Iron Lad whenever he shows up. So
maybe Iron Lad's the kid from Iron Man 3.
Oh, Andre could be right.
That would be real. I think that'd be really interesting if they went that route. I don't know how they're gonna pull it off, but you know how much I love Nathaniel Stark, so I'm all about the Young Avengers. So we're gonna.
That kid must be way older now. How long is he?
Oh, he's so old in that movie, because remember you saw
Nobody knew. Nobody knew who he was. Like, who's that
a bunch of
random
people
guy?
People would text me and go, "Who's this kid?" I'm like, "That's the kid from Iron Man 3."
Iron Man 3.
And they're like, "How am I supposed to know that?" I'm like, "Yeah, exactly."
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's the thing about these things. They're all Easter eggs for the true hardcore nerds to want to see. So
You should have had a jacket with Iron Man 3 written on the back.
Production jacket.
Yeah, the crew shirt.
Iron Man 3 tour.
Yeah, a name card on the shirt. So, all right. I'm curious to see whether they're gonna pull this off. The last episode, it's gonna be Wednesday. We're gonna see. Who knows? This could be a truly glorious purpose or not.
So it could be a complete cliffhanger ending, or they might try and wrap everything up quickly.
But shout out quickly to oh goodness, the sound production. What's her name again, Rob? I
can't remember her name. I gotta say while Stu's doing that, the score in this, it was something that it really popped out in my head. I was like, holy crap! Like.
Oh, it's like a remix of his theme, right?
Yeah, the bass and guitar drops that they were doing on this was phenomenal. Actually, that was one thing I was going to point out during the first episode. There's this, I can't remember the name of the instrument, and there's no point in me wasting time trying to figure it out. But there's an instrument that you can actually use that involves magnets, and it sounds like a string going across, but it uses electromagnetic harmonics to create, and that
theremin.
The theremin, thank you. And they've used that numerous times. But in this episode, they used that, and then they had that guitar and bass drops that are going in towards the end, and it was like it really stuck out in this episode. I was really
Natalie Holt is the production design, and again, spoilers for the next review. That song and most of the songs from Loki are very catchy in terms of the music in the background. Even because she did kind of an ode to Ride of the Valkyrie at the end when he's doing all the Loki stuff, and it just stuck in my mind, the songs, so much so that I don't think we're spoiling, but I don't remember any music from Black Widow, but I remember all the music from Loki, whether it's the classic stuff or of the theme itself, like of the Loki theme. Like even at the end of the show, I watch all the credits because like when the theme is playing, I'm like, yeah, I'm just enjoying the music of Loki. So shout out to Natalie Holt. The sound design and production is great. So yeah, I'm interested to see how this ends. We're gonna find out momentarily whether truly, again, I think we talked about the very beginning. I take everything what the TVA says with a grain of salt. I agree with you, Andre. It's very cruel what they're doing, but again, they're not telling people, like, again, the hints were already on the bottom of all those videos. It's like the Time Authority, like, you know, what was it? Time Authority, like commission crew or whatever. It's all seemed very weird and spotty that this group kind of just did whatever they wanted and everyone questioned them without, you know, any type of, you know, like just went along with everything. Yeah, so it is. We'll find out, and I don't think we're gonna get the answer or solution to resolving the Time Authority. I think it's going to be fan theory. Season 2 is basically Owen Wilson maybe taking over the reins, and he has to basically fix all of this stuff. And that may be season 2, and Loki's there to consult and be like, how do we figure this out? What is the new sacred timeline, or how are we going to do this before everyone else just fights each other?
So Mobius is the new Al to to Loki's Scott Bakula. In Quantum
that would be amazing. It would be like, let's hit this like Ziggy.
Oh
like,
gosh, I don't know, Loki. We gotta go.
I would love a room full of, and the bit would be a room full of Owen Wilsons, and they're just figuring out what's going on. And maybe his brother shows up too as a variant of him.
Yeah.
So, Luke Wilson shows up and he's like, whoa, it's a variant.
What's the gimmick was that he would be wearing whatever clothes that, like, so if he jumped into a female's body, would he be wearing female clothes?
Yes.
And then look in the mirror and then he's actually the woman or whatever?
Yeah, that's right. That's correct. We're all about that. All right, John, Andre, where can they find you guys on the internet in the desert of the real?
Yeah, so Heroes World Online, most active is our Facebook. Andre's posting a lot of great specials for our 20-year anniversary. So if you want the exclusive on what those specials are, check out the Facebook. Also, the Instagram is also on the Heroes World Online, as well as the website. And the new Twitch has been rebranded to Heroes World Online. So you can follow us there. Hopefully, we're going to get some more content posted there. And then if you're listening to on the audio, Heroes World Podcast, iTunes, Spotify, Deezer, Stitcher, whatever your preferred method of listening to a podcast is, and definitely if you don't have time to watch all the video versions, pop it into your ear, listen to us while washing dishes or driving to work if you still have to go to the office, and all the sharing and liking and reposting and a lot of Instagram stories people are posting of us is absolutely fantastic. So thank you everybody so much for helping us spread the word.
Andre?
Yeah, and we are open now. I think as of the 16th, I think we go to phase 3, so we can up our capacity in the store. So we are at the store now 6 days a week. So come by, check us out. Lots of new stuff. If you are checking our website, please be aware that there's probably about, what would you say, John, 1,000 times the amount of stuff in the store. Our website is
we have a lot more. Yeah, we're trying hard to get a little bit of everything, but we can't get to everything.
We can't get everything.
Always ask us. Yeah.
So the store has so much more. So a lot of people have been checking out our website and coming into the store, and they've been pleasantly surprised. Like, holy crap, there's way more stuff. So please, yeah, if you're looking for something and you don't see it on the website and you're close by or you want to make the trip, I can guarantee you it's worth it. Come by and check us out. We've got all of the safety measures in place to make your visit a safe one. And as John said, thank you so much for everybody who has been sharing, commenting, liking. But now that we are going to be starting Twitch, tell us what you guys want to see, what you want us to try and do. Because again, part of why we have the shop and the shop survives so long is because we're community based, and we want to do and represent what you guys like too, not just what we dig. We want to do what everybody's into. So hopefully we can add some different stuff to our Twitch channel, because I think that'll be a lot of fun.
Awesome. Rob, what's happening this Monday on the Sidekick Show?
Hey, Stu. So as people know, the Sidekick Show with John and I are Monday nights at 8 o'clock live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Generally, people like to jump in onto the YouTube one because that's where a lot of dialogue and conversation happens with all of the listeners and viewers, and that obviously that actually fuels a lot of our content week to week, and definitely has propelled the show into new areas. So this Monday, Stu's joining us. We're doing a retrospect in a bit of a different way of Richard Donner. As you know, he had passed away last Monday at the age of 91. Good run for a guy, but you have to understand this is a man who created the superhero genre with Superman the movie, but he did much more than that. He reinvented the buddy cop drama, reinvented a whole bunch of movies, and as Stu and I were talking offline one day this week, you don't get certain movies without Richard Donner and his DNA throughout a lot of movies and pop culture movies that we've come to know and love. So definitely join us as we have an interesting retrospective of Richard Donner and his career in movies. So we'll be talking about that.
Awesome. So again, let us know your thoughts in the comments, your fan theories. If you spot an Easter egg that we didn't mention, anything really, put it in the comments. Let us know. Give us your heads up because we always check out the comments and we value your feedback. But we have one more episode to go, so our fingers are crossed that it's going to stick the landing. So far, the Marvel shows have been 50-50 on sticking the landing. I don't think any of us like any of the endings.
They're
so
all
far.
fine. They're all fine. I liked WandaVision.
No, that's amazing considering where John started off. Was like, I don't want to watch WandaVision.
Exactly.
So,
I was fine with it.
Such a low bar. But
in all fairness, though, he doesn't understand the ending of Empire. So really, at this point, John's opinion
I don't remember being a cliffhanger when I was a kid.
I don't think
when I was a kid, I only remember Back to the Future 2 being a cliffhanger. That's the only one.
Can we confirm that John even saw Empire? He might have just read in the wiki notes.
What is the
just like, oh,
cliffhanger
I read the wiki entry. So
is it I'm your father reveal? Is that and then they cut the movie?
All right.
Really?
We'll see everybody next week. Thanks for joining us.
I'm gonna take a sabbatical from this for like a good month after that comment. All right, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you shortly for the next review, which is Black Widow. So thanks, everyone. See you later.
Nanu.